Once again, good morning to all the air warriors and warriors on this call today. As it is, we are going good with our program of Swarnim Vijayavars, which we started way back in 2020 on the day of Vijay Diwas on 16th December 2020, sir, with the patronage of our JWO Sharad Pathak, sir, and it has been going as successfully with all the air warriors and particularly ground warrior or brigadier Apte sir for his wonderful complimentary commentary every time we have had a call. And today's war 1971 war hero is our brigadier Ajit Apte sir. So we has had the experience of participating directly into the war, both from the Eastern Front and also from the Western Front for some time. And I feel it's a blessing, a great blessing for me to be able to introduce him and to know his great story of bravery during the 71 operations. In fact, he has a lot to tell about those operations, both from the ground perspective, particularly apart from integrating the story of war with Air Force, where it showed its supremacy, and also with the naval part of it. And the best part of his contribution or from his side is that apart from him, there are two more war heroes from his family. One cousin is Flight Lieutenant Pradeep Apte, who was also fighting the same war in 1971 from the Eastern Front. Unfortunately, got shot down on 4th December. And another of his cousin also was fighting from the Western Front, being a naval warrior. So this is the tremendous, unique contribution from the same family in the same three different organizations fighting for our motherland. So apart from this, his father was also a retired brigadier, started and functioning, even during the war time, before being the Second World War time. And he was the first brigade para brigade commander of independent India also, and his maternal uncle was also in the war fighting right from 1930 onwards in the Second World War. So his is the family of warriors across the three generations, and now he started his career as a army officer, being the alumnus of NDA and IMA, commissioned into the army on 20th December 1970 in RT regiment. So he has seen and participated in 71 war in Eastern and Western Front, and subsequently deployed in the Western Front. Honored by government of Bangladesh in December 2010, being a member of the 17 Indian Armed Forces veterans. Served on LOC in JNK 1977 and Eastern Sector in counter-insurgency operations. He also commanded a field regiment in Rann of Kutch on Western Front, and he was RT Brigade Commander of a strike corps during Kargil conflict in 1999. Held varied staff and instruction appointments in army with a tenure in army headquarters, and got superannuated in December 2005 after 35 years of glorious service. And he also served in the corporate world for some time, so as an associate or vice president of levels. So he is also a research fellow scholar from Department of Defense of Strategic Studies, University of Pune, and is also a member of the Center for Advanced Strategic Studies, that is CAS, Pune, and is also the former chairman of British Business Group, Pune chapter, currently member of Indian Advisory Council of Steenbach and partner in Pune. So this is his history. So let us all welcome him with a big thunderous applause for his remarkable war hero. Yes, sir. Welcome, sir. Ajit Apte, sir. Such a glorious history you have from the family side also. So this is now, sir. Take us through your journey of 1971 war time. Then how you happened to join the army, and I think soon after, I think within 6 months of your joining the army after training, then you landed in the Eastern Zone, in the war zone. So please take us through, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me thank Mr. TBR Pathak Sahib and all the distinguished panelists, my seniors. Some of them I have known from NDA. Some of them are very, very senior, like Wing Commander Karnik, but I have had the great opportunity of meeting them, interacting with them. Air Commodore Sridhar and Wing Commander Krishnamurthy, Group Captain Das, the hero of the Longewala battle. And it has been a great honor and privilege for me to have been invited as the lone ground warrior on this exquisitely well-arranged program by the Air Warriors. I am indeed honored, and as TBR has mentioned, I come from a defense forces family. My father was in the Second World War. In fact, he was General Jacob's coachmate. My father's maternal uncle was from Sandhurst, initially 16 Cavalry, but then converted to paratroopers and was India's first parachute brigade commander, which fought in the 1947-48 operations. And incidentally, that parachute brigade was with us on the Eastern Front. So I am indeed honored. And as TBR has brought out, my all the air warriors knew my cousin who was killed in action on the Western Front, and he was a fighter pilot. And my other cousin was on the Western Seaboard, guarding during the 71 operation. At the outset, let me tell you, destiny plays a big role. I would never have joined the NDA because after having cleared the initial examination in 65 December, the result coming out in 66 March, I was all set. But when I was doing some pre-SSB training at the Rajputana Rifle Center in Delhi, where I was, it was arranged by my father's cousin, Colonel Abhyankar, who was the commandant of the Rajputana Rifle Center. I fell down from a height of about 8 feet while doing a Tarzan swing, practicing for the SSB. And I had some stitches on my knee, and that prevented me from going for the services selection board at Meerut. My mother was, of course, very happy because she had seen my father, the disturbed life of an army officer. Then she knew my cousin has joined the Air Force. So she told me, I think you are not destined to go to the army. So you have fallen down. Now you just relax and join some college. But I was determined. And I asked my father, and luckily we got to know that there is a absentee batch for the services selection board, and somehow I managed to get my name into that absentee list, which was about 10 days hence. So despite the bandage and maybe 2-3 stitches on my right knee, I was determined and I went. I got selected. I was called to come for the Air Force because there were fewer optees for the Air Force at that time. So I was keen to join the Air Force, but my mother put her foot down. So I decided to listen to my mother's advice, and I think there was no harm in it. So that's how I joined the National Defence Academy. I met Air Commodore Sridharan there. Wing Commander Krishnamurthy was my 6th termer. I was the 1st termer. And that bond of the National Defence Academy continued. And I was happy to meet Air Commodore Sridharan, with whom I enjoy some very good equation out here. We both are on the committee of the National Defence Academy Alumni Association, and we are enjoying ourselves. So that much. I got commissioned on 20th December 1970. My parents were in Calcutta since my father had retired and was settled there for some time. So I went for the young officers course, and we realized that our course has been truncated because of two things which happened, which the senior veterans would understand. You see, there was an Indian Airlines passenger aircraft which had been hijacked, taken to Lahore and blown up. Many of you will remember that. At the same time, the Bangladesh trouble had started. So I must give a little perspective on that.
Yeah, background of the war, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what happened was, as we all know, but in a nutshell, I'll cover it. Mujibur Rahman won the elections on the eastern wing, and Bhutto had been outnumbered. So that was not acceptable to the Pakistan government. With the result that they started telling Mujib that they can have two prime ministers, which Mujib did not agree. So Yahya Khan had realized that this is not going to work, and there was hatched a conspiracy called the Ladkana conspiracy. You see, Bhutto belonged to Ladkana.
Okay.
Yahya Khan and all these people got together and had this Ladkana conspiracy, which was quite similar to what Hitler did, as known as the Wannsee decision in Germany. Many of us who studied Second World War will realize that there is a place called Wannsee near Berlin. I have been there incidentally, and there was hatched a plot to eliminate the Jews Similarly, here in January 71, there was a plot to eliminate the Bengalis and all the intellectuals. So this was called the Larkana conspiracy.
Okay, sir.
Yahya Khan appointed General Sahibzada Yaqub Khan as the chief of the Eastern Wing, and General Sahibzada Yaqub Khan, for information of you all, was an Indian Army officer before partition. His elder brother continued to serve in the Indian Army. The younger brother went to Pakistan. And Sahibzada Yaqub Khan told Yahya Khan that you can't do this. But Yahya Khan insisted, and therefore Operation Blitz was launched. Now, Operation Blitz was rounding up the Bengalis, and it started actually from February 71, which is unknown to many people.
Okay, sir.
Because Yahya Khan realized that he has a soft option, he removed Sahibzada Yaqub Khan, brought him onto the Western Front, and appointed Tika Khan, the butcher of Bangladesh.
Tika Khan, yes.
Tika Khan. Now, Tika Khan had actually butchered the Baluchis in West Pakistan.
Okay,
Coincidentally, I must also mention here, Tika Khan was an artillery officer, and he and my father had served together in Burma.
oh, that's great, sir. Okay,
My father, General Jacob, General Shaukat Raza, my father, Jacob and Shaukat Raza were second lieutenants in 8th Anti-Tank Regiment. They were in Iraq. From there, the regiment had been brought down, refitted, and taken into Burma. That
Okay.
Shaukat Raza, who later rose to be a lieutenant general, wrote a lot of books and retired as the director general of the Pakistan Artillery.
okay,
So my father, Shaukat Raza, and Jacob were all three subalterns in 8th Anti-Tank Regiment, and in the neighboring brigade was Tika Khan. So when the war finished in 1945, they continued to be occupation forces in the Dutch East Indies, and my father was selected to go for the prestigious gunnery staff course to United Kingdom with Jacob. They met again in Devlali because my father had just
okay,
married, and Tika Khan took over my father's house in Devlali since my father was leaving for England in 46 December. Later, partition took place, so Tika Khan moved as instructor to the Indian Military Academy, and after that he opted to go to Pakistan, so Tika Khan went to Pakistan.
okay,
My father and Jacob came back as the first batch of Indian instructors in gunnery at the School of Artillery, which was still called Royal School of Artillery, and then they changed the name and the Britishers left. So Tika Khan, the butcher of Baluchistan, was appointed by Yahya Khan. Now Tika Khan launched Operation Searchlight. This was launched on 25 March 1971. That time Yahya Khan
okay,
told Mujib that don't worry, we will work out a good solution. And Yahya Khan came with his team to Dhaka. This was only a ploy because they had meant business. So he bought time for 2 months to switch forces from the Western Front to the Eastern Front. 14 Pakistan Infantry Division and 16 Division were airlifted, taken to Sri Lanka, which was then known as Ceylon. And Ceylon was helping Pakistan in refueling, providing them all the facilities. So in fact, Sri Lanka was not working for us, it was working against us. And there's a reason for it. There was a big calamity in Sri Lanka in 1968-69. And unfortunately, India did not come to their rescue adequately. Pakistan stepped in. So possibly Ceylon or Sri Lanka had that feeling that we must help out Pakistan on a reciprocal basis. So that is how by 25th March, 2 divisions from West Pakistan had been airlifted and brought into East Pakistan.
sir.
And they were then deployed. Now Yahya Khan gave orders that okay, we will do this, and he left. The
Okay.
moment he left, the gentleman Tika Khan unleashed terror. There were women, girls abducted, raped. There were intellectuals, Hindus, everyone was massacred.
To suppress their movement, sir.
Yes, absolutely, and there is testimony of this. I'll make a mention right here since it will be in perspective. I was called for a panel discussion with two Bangladesh people about 2 months back. A Commodore Sridharan knows about it. The lady there was Aroma Datta. Right? Like I was a 21-year-old boy, or uh, many a times I wonder I should have been doing something else, but I was fighting the war.
Sir,
So, like me, there was this young lady. Her name is Aroma Datta.
sir.
On 25th afternoon, her grandfather and granduncle were all taken, abducted, and killed.
Okay.
She and her mother got shelter and they escaped.
Mhm.
Luckily, her father was working with Amrit Bazar Patrika, a paper in Calcutta, and was there. Now, this family knew the Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi family very well.
Okay.
Aroma Datta, in her own interview, she was with me on this panel discussion.
Okay.
It was conducted by, on behalf of Nitin Gokhale, who's a famous journalist, and it is called BharatShaktiIndia.com. I got to know, I spoke to the lady. She and her mother reached Agartala, outside Agartala, and Air Force people will know it because they launched number of missions from Agartala. But our DSF disallowed them to go anywhere near. This girl was crying. She has described it herself, and the mother was crying. And finally, they called someone and gave some name because it was a Bengali name, and some people came to their help from the BSF post.
Sir.
From there, she asked Indira to speak to Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister, which was actually a great request, but luckily it was allowed.
Okay.
And Indira Gandhi spoke to Aroma Datta at about midnight on night 25-26 March, which this lady today, she's a parliamentarian in the Bangladesh government, has acknowledged. When Indira Gandhi was a very astute lady, she heard Aroma Datta and she said, "Child, don't worry. I will see what can be done." Aroma Datta's request was, "Please tell the Indian Army to open the border. Like me, there are thousands of refugees who are being massacred and we need safe havens to come back to." At
Okay.
that point, Indira Gandhi just told her, "Let me see what I can do." You see, that lady was not impulsive. She
Okay.
had her, mind and head straight on her shoulders.
Okay.
The call was disconnected and orders were given to the Indian Army to open the front right from northeast, that is Agartala, down to the southwest, where subsequently I was deployed.
Sir.
All on that front, the Indian Army, with the aid of the BSF, opened the borders, and that is how the refugee influx started.
Okay.
Now, what happened was that this started on 25 March. So a lot of people who started defecting from the Pakistan Army, East Bengal Rifles and all, they started crossing and coming into our side.
Okay.
Now I will freeze here because at that time I was doing the young officers course in Devlali.
Sir.
I was assigned to the regiment, 14 Field Regiment,
Sir.
which incidentally was the regiment which my father founded or raised.
Oh, that's great, sir.
Commanding officer in 1956 May.
Sir.
So I was very happy to be commissioned into my father's regiment.
Okay.
I got a message that I must report to Calcutta because the regiment was deployed there in aid fighting the Naxal movement.
Sir.
That is where even Brigadier Prakash Gokhale, I think he's on the call here.
Yes,
He
sir.
was also there. We were all ex-NDAs and Prakash Gokhale was also there. And
Was he your course mate, sir?
no, he's senior to me. All these people are my gurus.
Acha, okay.
Whatever good or bad I have learned, good
Yes,
is
sir.
attributed to me. Whatever, all the tricks and all the monkey tricks I have learned is thanks to Sridharan, Wing Commander Murthy and Prakash Gokhale and all.
Sir. Okay. Great.
If I do anything wrong, they have taught me that.
Okay.
So-
Wrong or right?
Yeah, wrong or right. So, you see, the regiment was deployed there on Red Road. Many of you are familiar with Calcutta, Park Street and all.
Yes, sir.
There was a big build-up of the army, including the parachute brigade, right from March 71.
Sir.
So, ultimately, our young officers course was curtailed. And
Okay.
we knew that a lot of mobilization is taking place because my cousin was in Pune with 220 Squadron. He was also moved up to Uttarlai.
Okay.
Wing Commander Sikand was his commanding officer.
Right, sir.
My cousin was newly married, so he just wrote to me saying that there is some going to be something, and we are all moving up. So I also got orders. I was diverted to Calcutta, but just then my regiment moved back to Tezpur. We were part of 4 Corps, the famous General Sagat.
Okay.
I reported to my unit in exactly I think 11th of June 1971, and moment I reached there, we were all in bashas, and the living conditions were very tough. There was no water. Everything was, but that was a field area, and that was good. So we got orders to move on to the eastern front. So right from July, my battery was ready with the guns, 25-pounder guns,
Okay.
and we were at 6 hours notice to move out. What we call is we were on the warning phase.
Yes,
So
sir.
as a second lieutenant, I moved, but I never fired. I just took the guns. I think the corps wanted, to show force that the Indian Army can deploy, and things like that.
Okay.
So about a month went like this, and then suddenly one day, while we were in the Mandir, you see, my regiment was badly massacred in 1965
Okay.
in the Chum sector, and we
Sir.
lost a lot of casualties. So we were holding a special Mandir function for them, parade to
Okay.
commemorate.
Okay.
A small slip came to our adjutant, Brigadier Sapatekar. I think he's probably also on this call, Captain
Sir.
Sapatekar.
Okay.
And hurriedly, everyone, did, paid our respects in front of the Almighty God, and gradually the people started moving out.
Sir.
Then we got to know that our regiment has been ordered to move down towards Barrackpur.
Okay.
And they selected me as the advance party with my battery commander, Major Sudhir Mishra. He is also 14th NDA course. And there were one other officer, Captain Robin Das. Uh, so we three went, and it took us about 7 days. The rains were heavy, the trains were moving slow. Finally, we reached Barrackpur, only to be diverted that you move to Kanchrapara. So we moved
Okay.
to Kanchrapara, and there we met 93 Mountain Regiment, which was a Tambi unit, and we met their commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Rawat.
Sir.
Incidentally, for the benefit of those who are ex-NDAs out here, he was first NDA course.
Okay.
And the beauty of it is, since Doc Sridharan and I play golf, Dilip Naidu also plays golf, I think Suresh Karnik sir also. I happened to meet him 10 years ago on the golf course.
Okay. Okay.
Lieutenant Colonel Rawat, and we met, and the moment my name, he said, weren't you in the advance party before the war? I said, yes sir, you have a very sharp memory despite being so young. So we played a good game of golf, and we reminisced the times before the war. But 93 Mountain Regiment moved out. There was a lot of reshuffling being done by Eastern Command.
Sir.
And we came down, and we were told that carry a lot of your formation signs of the Red Cockerel. That was 23 Mountain Division, because we were placed under 9 mountains, which became a 9 infantry division. And the reason was, which I got to know later as a second lieutenant, I only obeyed orders, I didn't understand much. It was basically to confuse the Pakistanis that 23 Mountain Division has also moved down towards the Bagda Boira sector.
Okay.
So at Rampant, we were, flashing the old formation sign, and we reported. We realized that I have to do some reconnaissance on the border, so I went. 67 Field Regiment was there. My coursemate, Second Lieutenant Arun Manan, was there, and I took over all the gun positions from him, the defensive fire target list, everything. And
Sir.
then we realized we didn't have sufficient maps. So I
Okay.
was detailed as the errand boy, youngest junior most officer,
Okay.
to go to Calcutta and liaise with Fort William Eastern Command.
Sir.
I went there, and to my surprise, I saw Jacob very fleetingly, and he was, of course, the chief of staff, big man, and he quietly, just nodded his head. There were hectic operational movement going on, and I did my work, and my battery commander had told me that don't come back to Kanchrapara till you have finished everything. So carry a small bag. If required, stay there for 2 3 nights. And I had to go by that Lal Goda Express because
Okay.
as a second lieutenant, you don't get vehicles, and if you
Okay.
do get vehicles, they are inversely proportional to your rank.
Okay.
For a second lieutenant, you will get the biggest 3-ton vehicle which cannot manipulate the speed easily. As you
Yes,
get
sir.
higher in rank, you will get nice smaller cars. So
Sir.
I decided rather than going all that 40 50 kilometers to Calcutta in a big 3-ton, I took my civvies. I went by the Lal Goda, that express to Calcutta, did everything.
Sir.
And then since I knew Calcutta, I thought let me enjoy also a little bit. In fact, I have written an article called City of Joy. So I
Sir.
used to go to Park Street, enjoy myself, Blue Fox, Usha, Uthup and all that I enjoy. So I combined pleasure with work effectively. But I did the work.
Yes, sir.
I went to Eden Gardens, tied up the thelas, and, ammunition, sab kaam karke, I reached my unit. And very soon we got to know that one battery has to be deployed on the eastern front, and
Okay.
that was my battery. The regiment was moving down from Tezpur. Our commanding officer, Colonel Sahasrabuddhe, he's here only in Pune, settled down. He's 89 years old. He's
Oh,
third NDA course. So
okay.
he must have been a sixth termer when Wing Commander Karnik, I think, would have been a first termer. Am I right, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
So,
can unmute, sir. Unmute.
no, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
okay. Okay.
he,
Right,
he
right.
was the commanding officer,
Sir.
and they arrived, and straight away orders were given that one battery has to be deployed on the eastern front. So I moved out on 24th September.
Sir.
I deployed and I never came back till the 20th of December. So
Okay.
I
Till
opened
okay.
fire. Yeah, on 26th September, I opened fire. With me was Captain Suresh Sharma, 32nd NDA course, Charlie Squadron. My battery commander was Major Mishra, 14th NDA course,
Sir.
and we were all three bachelors, so nothing to worry. And
Mhm.
we had another officer, Captain Malik, who was married, but he was doing the junior commander's course and he had not joined back.
Okay.
When I reached the border at a place called Bagda,
Mhm.
it was raining heavily. My 25-pounder guns were there, and we had got some defense stores. So
Sir.
at that time, when we got orders that we must help out the refugees, I saw them lined up, sitting on their haunches on either side of the road.
Mhm.
This was consequent to Indira Gandhi opening the borders after Aroma Datta, that lady who today
Sir.
is a parliamentarian, spoke to Indira Gandhi.
Sir.
So we were helping them out. I gave my bullies defense, CGI sheets because they were under rain. They had to have some proper cover. All that was given. We deployed near a school, and
Mhm.
I used to move every day closer to the border because I had 25-pounder guns and the range was limited only 9 or 10 kilometers.
Okay.
Gradually, 350 Infantry Brigade, which was part of 9 Infantry Division, I was supporting 1st Jack Rifles, 4 Sikh, and 26 Madras.
Okay.
So all of them were deployed. Infantry had moved up, and then we got orders that we need to train the Mukti Bahini.
Okay.
So my task was as a second lieutenant to teach them how to take simple artillery shoots.
Mhm.
And I took their classes for 2 3 days. I had to wear a lungi,
Okay.
not an army officer. And
Okay.
I moved with the first Jack rifle on the front. And there also I met my postmate, Lieutenant Jasbir Sarai, and there was UC Gupta, the senior to me, but we were all like ex-NDA friends.
Mhm.
And I stayed with that battalion in their their bunkers and trenches for 2 3 days. Took some classes, and that is how the Mukti Bahini aspect was like this. That the East Bengal Rifles had started defecting, and they were Usman and Khonkar was the second in command. And on 26th March, there was a government of Bangladesh established in exile in Calcutta. That was,
Okay.
for those who are familiar with Calcutta, there's a road called Shakespeare Sarani or Theatre Road.
Okay.
There's a big bungalow there in which the government in exile took place.
Okay.
And India recognized this only in June after taking permission from the Ministry of External Affairs.
Yeah.
And the General Jacob played a major role. He told them that all these people here in Calcutta who belong to the East Pakistan High Commission or whatever it is called must accede their support to the new government in exile, and then only we will permit it. They allowed. They all
Okay.
joined in,
Hmm.
and therefore that government in
So
exile
officially allowed.
officially allowed by India,
Yes, sir. Okay.
and it was subsequently ratified legally also, I believe, sometime in September.
Sir.
That is how they said that we will support the Mukti Bahini by the ground forces.
Okay.
Therefore, Operation Jackpot got launched.
Okay.
Now, remember one thing: in Pakistan there was Operation Blitz. It was soft. Sahibzada Yaqub Khan was dismissed. Then
Okay.
Tikka Khan, who launched Operation Searchlight.
Such like, yes, sir.
Now, on that, the US government had an objection because
Okay.
they told Pakistan that this guy is a brutal terror. So
Mhm.
Tikka Khan was removed and Niazi was put in place.
Mhm.
That's how Niazi came as the Eastern Army head chief.
Okay. He was the general at the time of this operation, sir.
Correct. And
Yes, sir.
Operation Searchlight continued
Sir.
with brutal rape, terror, everything.
Oh.
But to counter Operation Searchlight, we had launched Operation Jackpot, which
Okay.
was functioning till 30th November.
Mhm.
And on 1st December, it got converted to Operation Cactus Lily and
Sir.
renamed as Op Cactus Lily Eastern and Western Front,
Both the fronts.
both the fronts.
Sir.
So I then became a part of Operation Jackpot. My
Okay.
regiment became a part of Operation Jackpot. I met the Mukti Bahini, conducted some little training for them. They wanted to see our gun position also, which was suitably denied because there were a lot of Razakars mixed up with these Mukti Bahini and we couldn't establish their true identity.
Okay. So Rajak, who are the Rajakars supporting Pakistan? Or?
Supporting Pakistan.
Okay. Okay.
They had also infiltrated amongst the Mukti Bahini and we couldn't make out who is who.
Oh.
We decided we should not allow them into the gun position.
Okay.
So at the same time, on the northeastern front, the Air Force started building up near Agartala. There was an overall mobilization around September.
September. Yes, sir.
Everyone was moving into their action stations.
Sir.
Formations started forming up.
Sir.
At that time, started from 26 September onwards, the shaping of the battlefield started. Now,
Okay.
shaping of the battlefield is a very important aspect.
Sorry for interrupting. During September, I think our PM, then Indira Gandhi also asked our general to go for a war kind of thing.
Yes, I will tell you that.
Sir.
What happened was Indira Gandhi told Sam Manekshaw to attack on the eastern front,
Yes, sir.
but he told the Prime Minister that the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force are not ready.
Sir.
It is a riverine terrain.
Sir.
We need a lot of engineer resources. We need, to ensure that our bridges and all are intact, and we
Yes,
have
sir.
enough crossing facilities.
Sir.
So the engineers played a very, very big role. I must give them a big salute. Brigadier Naidu from the Corps of Engineers is here, a very dear senior friend of mine, and full marks to our Corps of Engineers. So
Sir.
that part I will cover. But what happened was Manekshaw refused, and
Okay.
it is believed he told Indira Gandhi, if you want to attack, you find another army chief.
Okay.
Air Marshal P.C. Lal was the chief of the air staff.
Sir.
And he also concurred with then General Manekshaw.
Okay.
And gradually the forces started building up.
Sir.
It is important to note that on the eastern front, there was 4 corps,
Sir.
there was 33 corps,
Mhm.
and the 2 corps was established on 6th October 1971 with Lieutenant General Tapi Raina, the first corps commander.
Okay.
My division, 9 infantry division, was allotted to 2 corps.
So just before the war, sir, this 2 corps was formed in the case.
Yes, October 71.
Okay.
And that was designated to be the strike corps for taking the offensive right into Bangladesh.
Okay. Okay.
The 9 Infantry Division, my division, was allotted with Major General Dalbir Singh as the General Officer commanding, along with 4 Infantry Division which came in from Allahabad.
Sir.
And the general there was General Barar. He was
Okay.
an artillery officer, and General Dalbir Singh was from the Jat regiment,
Okay, sir.
and General Raina was the corps commander.
Mhm.
Then a little bit on to the northwest, we had 33 corps under General Thapan, but
Mhm.
only 20 mountain division came down because we had to keep forces ready against the Chinese front.
Oh. Was
Yes.
there any threat from Chinese, sir, during that time?
Yes, I will tell you that.
Yes, sir.
What happened? The other divisions on 33 Corps, that is 17 Div
Sir.
and 27 Div, continued to face the Chinese.
Okay.
And on the 4 Corps front, that is which came in from the east, that was General Sagat Singh.
Sir.
Earlier, I was part of that corps, but we had been switched down to the southwest.
Sir.
General Sagat was the corps commander, and he had under him 8 Mountain Division and 57 Mountain Division
Okay.
and 23 Mountain Division.
Okay.
Then you had the 101 Communication Zone, which was initially under Major General Gurbaksh Gill, but
Sir.
he got wounded, so General Gandhar Nagra came and took over.
Okay.
So this was the lineup. Now to answer your query, yes. What happened was Indira Gandhi was very clear in her mind that we have to evict the refugees and
Sir.
the bad people in East Pakistan.
Mhm.
She went on a big international tour to gather diplomatic, support for India.
Okay.
Now in that, it is a very clear equation that Britain was not in favor of India. They
Okay.
favored the Pakistanis.
Mhm.
America under Richard Nixon favored the Pakistanis.
Okay.
And the Chinese, of course, have to favor the Pakistanis.
Okay. Naturally.
So Chow En-lai in July 1971 had written a letter. I have seen that letter
Sir.
in which he told Yahya Khan that if India troubles you, don't worry, we will attack them.
Okay. Okay. Assurance given by Chinese.
Yeah. Chinese had given the threat. At the same time, the US also, by keeping quiet, were party to what Pakistan was doing.
Okay.
The moment Chow En-lai gave this threat, Soviet Union, which was still Soviet Union, not Russia,
Yeah.
they gave a threat to the Chinese that if you do anything against India,
Yeah.
we will attack you in the Xinjiang region.
Okay.
So the Chinese were aware that if they start something, this is what will happen.
Okay.
Now, under those circumstances,
Yeah.
Indira Gandhi had to take a decision what is to be done.
Yes, sir.
So she gave orders, and this is a record in the Government of India Gazette.
Sir.
The initial orders were that the Indian Army, when hostilities break out,
Sir.
should capture maximum territory,
Sir.
right from the line, like Agartala, which is on the northeast tip,
Sir.
down towards southwest, take real estate and stop.
Okay.
So that India can refer to the United Nations that look, we were compelled to do this. Now you step in and restore the stability in East Pakistan. That was the start point.
Okay.
Because we must understand one thing, India's image was a non-aggression country, a
Yeah.
country which believed in total peace and harmony.
Yeah.
And unlike Hitler in the Second World War, who overran Europe
Yes, sir.
and was only waiting to attack Britain,
Mhm.
stop.
Yeah.
So we had projected to the world that we are not like that.
Okay.
If we do something like that, then India will come in a bad light.
Okay.
So to prevent that, these were the initial instructions and plans.
Okay.
Now a very interesting thing happened. I had
Okay.
already started firing in September. My regiment built up on 14th October
Sir.
and were all firing. So for us, the battle started.
Okay.
Now, once the battle started, the shaping of the battlefield included infantry attacks on places like Masliya, Burinda, Garibpur.
Mhm.
At this point of time, when the shaping of the battlefield was taking place,
Sir.
the allocation of forces was going on, which I will show you on a sketch or a map.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Let me give this preamble.
Yes, sir.
There was an attack on Garibpur by our 14th Punjab Battalion.
Okay.
This happened on 21 November.
Okay.
And on 22nd November,
Mhm.
on 21st November, 14th Squadron Pakistan Air Force had come over Garibpur to dislodge the Indian attack. I had
Okay.
participated in that attack.
Okay.
I will describe that a little later.
Right.
But the start of the 71 war and declaration of emergency
Sir.
is thanks to 4 Indian pilots, Don Lazarus,
Yes, sir.
Ganpati, Massey, Suarez, Bakchi.
The Suarez sir is on the call, sir, today.
I don't know, is he on the call? Okay. Now, and
Yeah.
these were the 4 heroes who performed that magnificent dogfight, which I will describe because I have witnessed it, and I
Yes,
happened
sir.
to blindfold Parvez Mehdi, flight lieutenant.
Sir.
So
And
once,
in fact, Don Ladras also spoke on this call, sir. Yes, previously. Yes, sir.
good, good. So what happened was that when we shot down the Pakistani sabers, thanks to these four
Sir.
pilots, which I will describe, Yahya Khan was furious in West Pakistan, and he in fact rang up Niazi, and this is on record, and he
Sir.
told him, he said, "How have you allowed the Indian Air Force to dominate you people?"
Okay.
He said, "This is outright, the Indian Air Force attacking Pakistani aircraft on Pakistani soil and getting away
Mm-hmm.
with it. It's a matter of shame."
Okay.
And immediately Yahya Khan declared emergency on the Western Front. It is on
Only
record.
only in Western friends, not in not this one, Eastern.
East Pakistan was in turmoil.
Okay.
But on the Western Front,
Sir.
immediately a state of emergency was declared on 23rd November, and
Okay.
all battle stations were started being occupied.
Okay.
It is believed that on that day, Yahya Khan decided that he must attack India.
Okay.
Happened exactly 12 days later.
Okay. Okay.
Now, what happened? If you just show that one sketch for a minute, and then
Yes, sir. I'll share the screen.
that is important for the listeners to understand how
Sir.
the shaping of the battlefield took place. First, you
Mhm.
show the India map so that people know what was the layout. Then put on the So
Yes, sir.
I presume all the viewers can see this. If you just see this, before the start of the war, there was West Pakistan. There's a small place, Pakistan occupied Kashmir in J&K. Incidentally, I have served on the line of control, so I have done a lot of planning for firing onto the POK area. But that was in 1977. And on the east, we have East Pakistan, which we converted into Bangladesh. So this is how it was. And now come to the next step.
Yes, sir. This one.
Yeah, this one. Now, just to give you an idea, when hostilities started, or rather, I'll say when the shaping of the battlefield started in September 1971. If you see out here, this was the offensive action plan of Eastern Command India. It was to be a four-pronged offensive with Jessore Khulna by 2 corps, then 33 corps with 20 mountain division, where the famous Battle of Hilli took place. And
Okay.
I think Brigadier Prakash Bhogle will subsequently cover that. That was the bloodiest battle in the history of the war, and many casualties to 8 guards, many other people, and of course a number of gallantry awards.
Okay.
Then you come down to the headquarter 101 communication zone, which was on the northeast.
Yes, sir.
Then you come down on the eastern front was the 4 corps,
Yes,
and we had the 50 independent parachute brigade on my front, that is in the 2 corps zone, and a part of that took part in the airborne offensive, which I will tell you subsequently.
sir.
So now this is just to give you an idea how the operational plan was on the eastern front, and in the shaping of the battlefield was done all over the front with different corps and different formations. And that
Okay.
actually meant neutralizing the border outposts and also making launch pads so that if war is declared, whenever it is declared, these
Okay.
are used as springboards for the ground offensive.
Okay.
Okay, now you can switch this map out. You
Yeah.
you can close it for the time being.
Yeah. Okay. Closing, sir.
Just
Yes, sir. Yes.
now what happened was, here I must mention how the Air Force gets integrated with the ground force.
Yes, sir.
On that day, that is on, we were fighting, we were capturing areas, we were being counter-attacked. Enemy had started shelling my gun position, and everything was happening.
Mm-hmm.
When the Garipur battle took place by 14th Punjab,
Okay. 1 7.